I had been doing this for 2, maybe 3 years before I even heard anybody doing this. And then it like exploded. Now everybody does it. I'm going to build a really quick preset here and show you guys how I would build a preset. And I'm going to actually change my axe input. I'm going to make it a stereo track. So I record all of my guitars on a stereo track, whether I'm using the axe effects, whether I'm using an amp, I guess if I'm using a plugin, I don't, because ultimately the plugin is on top of the DI. The DI isn't affected, right? This is my guitar track, okay? And what I do is we've got a stereo track. I don't know how every DAW works this out, but in Pro Tools, I put what's called a trim plugin on. You know, trim plugin is a mute, a volume, and a phase. That's it. It's almost just like a channel control. And I use something called multi-mono, okay? So when you go to multi-mono, and actually, let me just do this from scratch so you guys can see it. And this is a trick. I know a lot of guys who do this now, and I know this is a complete coincidence, but I'm going to say it anyways because I very rarely brag. I had been doing this for 2, maybe 3 years before I even heard anybody doing this. And then beyond that, it like exploded. Now everybody does it. So again, I'm not saying it's a novel concept, but I'm just saying this is something that for a couple of years in my brain was an original idea. I didn't rip it off from anybody. I came up with this myself. Not saying everybody else stole it from me. I'm just saying I didn't get it from anybody. I came up with it myself. So anyways, stereo track, we're going to go multi-mono, trim plugin, and there's this little button right here that's this little like link that's blue. If you move the level, it's moving the level on both the left and the right, right? So if you switch over to, that's what this L on right is. You can see that the right side also came down. How this works, and I wish Avid would give us a different option for this. I'm actually going to talk to somebody about that. I wish there was a way in multi-mono where you could see both the left and the right at the same time, because instead of having to use this little menu. And if there is a way to do that, somebody, God, please tell me how to do that. I don't think there is. But anyways, we're going to set this back. But if you unlink it, now the left and the right operate independently. So now the left, you can go and change the level, and if you go back to the right side, it hasn't been changed. I think all plugins have a multi-mono option. So even like compressors, if let's say you're compressing room mics on drums, if you run multi-mono, the left and the right will kind of pump differently because they're almost acting as two different plugins. Whereas if you're running stereo, it will kind of pump together depending on how the plugin was designed, but a lot of them do that. So multi-mono has a lot of other uses. I call this concept a multi-mono track. So it's a stereo track, but I don't use it for stereo. I use it for having 2 mono signals recorded onto the same track, okay? I just wanted to explain that. I'm coming in on a stereo track, and I want you guys to understand kind of what's going to be happening here. All right, so let me put that on input. All right, so we're going to make this input 2 because that's where my Pro Tools is being routed to. I'm just going to turn off the noise gate there because I use a noise gate later on. If you guys noticed, this is kind of how my Fractal Gift of Tone preset looked. So I'm going to route it all the way over to there. I'm going to go to my feedback send. Oh, and here's something that I always get screwed up on. Feedback return. Feedback return defaults to return level as 0. I can't tell you how many times I've started a new preset and been like, why the fuck aren't I hearing anything? And then it's like, oh, I got to turn that up. I know there's a reason for that because they don't want people to blow their faces off, but just a note. Okay, and then we are going to go all the way here, and then I'm going to put my output block. Doesn't even really matter kind of where it is, I guess. I'll put it right here. Output block. And here's what we're going to do. Follow me here. If I play this should just give us a clean DI signal all the way through, okay? Okay, it's only coming out of one side, and it's smashed, right? Very loud. So here's where things get, I don't want to say a little tricky, but here's where, this is how I get my DI recorded independently of the amp sound. I kind of think of this top row as, that's kind of like my pedal board before I plug into the DI. And then let's pretend this send is the DI box, and then this return is the through of the DI box going to the amp, okay? And so what I do is I take the output of this DI box, quote unquote send, and I route that to the output block here, okay? And just for shits and giggles, so we can tell the difference between the amp and the DI, oops, let's put a cab on here. All right, let's turn this down just a hair. Actually, you know what? Let's go Dynacab. Here's another cool thing I'll give to everybody if you go to my website and sign up. I've gone through and saved block libraries for every Dynacab option. So let's say the recto straight. Basically, it loads each of the mic options into each of the 4 slots. And so you don't have to go load those up every time. And I've done one for every one here. So it gives you a good starting point. So let's just go recto straight. I've been liking this dynamic 2 in kind of that position. I'll go ribbon over there. I'm just eyeballing these, obviously, so bear with me. All right, so now if you go to your output block, you've got to pan that first row to the left, so that way the DI gets recorded only on the left input of Pro Tools. And then we're going to send row 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. Okay, so here's your pan down here. Then 1 to the left, 4 to the right. And now if I play, you're going to hear the DI on the left and the amp on the right. Okay. Okay, makes sense. Now we're going to go back to Pro Tools. And now what we need to do is we need to mute that left side. So we go to left on multi-mono plugin. We're going to mute it. Okay, so now when we play that same part, you're not going to hear the DI. You're only going to hear the amp on the right side. And now you can go to the pan, and in Pro Tools, you've got independent control over the left and the right pan. And now you just use the right pan. You can still pan it to the left if you want. Okay? The left doesn't do anything, because that's muted. Okay, so that's what I call a multi-mono track. And I use this same kind of philosophy, or the same type of kind of concept. I use this with kick drums. I use this with snare drums. So like a snare top and a snare bottom, I might put on the same track. I'd pan both the left and the right up the middle. The top's on the left, the bottom's on the right. I'll use the trim plugin. Instead of muting the left, I might go to the right, flip the phase, and bring it down a little bit. And now instead of tying up 2 tracks, you tie up 1 track, and now you can compress and EQ and do everything, process that together. So it's kind of a cool little trick. Same with kick drums. If you got like two in mics, or like an in and out mic that you're kind of mixing together, same idea. You can get that balance within that.